Here is your latest African news. Your news highlights: Africa-wide. Africa revives push for colonial-era reparations. Mali pro-junta group demands peacekeepers to leave the country by September. Nigeria. Italian authorities reject racial motive for the murder of a Nigerian man. Africa-wide. Blinken Africa trip, the world should not dictate to the continent. Kenya's Shona community to vote for the first time after statelessness. Ivory Coast. President Ouattara pardons predecessor Gbagbo. Nigeria threatens to quit ECOWAS over nepotism. Diaspora. Alabama Towns moves to dissolve its police department over texted racist joke. Africa-wide. Africa revives push for colonial-era reparations. In a joint initiative, African countries are renewing their efforts to obtain reparations from European countries for the transatlantic slave trade and other colonial-era wrongs committed centuries ago. The slave trade, which affected millions of Africans, was the largest forced migration in history and one of the most inhumane. Over 400 years, Africans were transported to many areas of the world, yet no reparations have as yet been paid. The process is proving much slower than many Africans expected. Last week, Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo revived the push for slavery and colonial retribution at a summit on reparations and racial healing in Accra, Ghana. Some European nations played key roles in colonial crimes and have hesitantly in recent years rendered an apology for their actions. Mali. Members of a Malian civil society group close to the ruling military government demanded on Friday that the UN mission in Mali, MINUSMA, leaves the country by September 22nd. At the Cultures Palace in Bamako, supporters of the anti-French Yerewolo Debout sur les Ramparts, or Yerewolo Standing on the Ramparts group, pledged to take to the streets if the troops did not go. Supporters of the organization, Sheikh Ballo, explained why he backed calls to expel French authorities. Many of the protesters wore blue bonnets to mock the UN peacekeepers in a move they called Operation Blue Bonnet Against Blue Helmets. The head of the movement, Adama Ben Diarra, said he had already asked the UN to withdraw from Mali by September. Speaking to supporters, he said, "As you know, we have to get together and go out massively on 22nd September 2022 to liberate the country." Tensions between Mali and the UN have been running high in recent last months after Mali refused to authorize a UN mission deployed to investigate alleged ongoing human rights violations in the country. The Yerewolo movement has backed transitional President Colonel Assimi Goïta and has organized several protests against France in the past. Nigeria. Italian authorities reject racial motive for the murder of a Nigerian man. Protests have taken place in the affluent Italian town of Civitanova Marsh after a Nigerian immigrant was beaten to death in full view of the public with no one helping him. Police arrested a suspect but immediately ruled out a racial motive for the attack on Aleka, who was a local street vendor. Africans in Italy are now demanding the authorities recognize the role race played in what happened to Ogochukwu. But locals have been internationally condemned for not intervening. The Nigerian government has condemned Ogochukwu's death, and the country's Foreign Affairs Ministry urged Italian authorities to bring the perpetrator of the heinous act to book without delay. Africa-wide. Blinken Africa Tour, the world should not dictate to the continent. The U.S. Secretary of State has said Washington will not dictate which choices Africa should make, and neither should anyone else. He is currently in South Africa as part of a three-nation African tour. Washington is seeking to boost relations amid growing concerns over the growing influence of Russia and China. Mr. Blinken addressed African reservations that the continent is sometimes used as a pawn in international relations. He outlined the U.S. priorities for the continent, which include democracy, investment, security, COVID recovery support, and clean energy. Mr. Blinken said the U.S. will launch a Global Fragility Act, which will make a decade-long investment in promoting more peaceful, more inclusive, more resilient societies in place where conditions are ripe for conflict. The project is set to receive $200 million in funding each year for the next decade. Kenya. Kenya's Shona community have voted for the first time after statelessness. The Shona community in Kenya voted for the first time ever in the general elections on August 9th. Members of this community, who now number around 4,000 people, arrived in Kenya from Zimbabwe over 60 years ago, welcomed by the first post-independence president, Jomo Kenyatta. But they were not recognized as citizens and remained stateless until 2020, when they were finally given citizenship. UNHCR seeks to end statelessness by 2024. It released a document titled Handbook on the Protection of Stateless People to help define statelessness. The handbook serves as guiding principles for countries, but the remedies available for stateless people vary by country. Guinea. President Ouattara pardons predecessor Gbagbo. President of the Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara, has pardoned his predecessor, Laurent Gbagbo, who was facing a 20-year jail sentence for political unrest. In a statement to mark the 62nd anniversary of the country's independence, Ouattara said the move was in the interest of reinforcing social cohesion. Ouattara also asked for Gbagbo's bank accounts to be unfrozen and for his life annuity to be paid. Gbagbo became president of the Ivory Coast in 2000 but was arrested in 2011 after refusing to concede defeat in the election. Civil conflicts between Gbagbo's forces and supporters of Ouattara led to the deaths of around 3,000 people. Gbagbo was acquitted by the International Criminal Court (ICC) for alleged war crimes committed during the conflict, but in 2018 he was handed a 20-year jail sentence for the robbery of funds from the Abidjan Central Bank after the election. He has always denied the charges. Ouattara also agreed to release two of Gbagbo's closest associates who were convicted for their role in the post-election unrest. In 2021, after his acquittal by the ICC, Gbagbo returned from exile to the Ivory Coast and has kept a low profile since. Ouattara stood for a third term in the 2020 election, a move which critics said was unconstitutional. He has insisted he will not exit politics until Gbagbo and his predecessor Henry Konan Bedie agree to do the same. Nigeria. Nigeria threatens to quit ECOWAS over nepotism. Nigeria has issued a threat to withdraw its membership from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The threat of withdrawal, according to Nigeria, is due to what it alleges to be lopsided staff recruitments. Nigeria's representatives at the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja issued the threat when some principal officers in the regional bloc allegedly defied directives and embarked on the illegal process of recruiting their relatives and cronies. The directive was issued at the 2022 First Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Parliament. But Nigerian representatives say the illegal process of some of the principal officers recruiting their relatives and cronies is still ongoing. Nigeria currently houses the headquarters of ECOWAS and remains a major financial contributor to the regional bloc. The Nigerian lawmakers said the West African nation is yet to realize any significant gains, despite its major support to ECOWAS since its inception in 1975. Leader of the Nigerian delegation to the parliament and the first deputy speaker of the ECOWAS parliament, Ahmed Idris Wase, stated that it has become imperative that Nigeria reviews its relevance and membership of the bloc. Diaspora. Alabama town moves to dissolve its police department over texted racist joke. Lawmakers in a small Alabama town has moved to fire its police chief and dissolve the entire department after a racist joke was texted among officers. The Vincent City Council, representing almost 2,000 people east of Birmingham, voted unanimously to begin the process of ending city police services and contracting with the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, follow, share and like our video. It's the best way of supporting us. And remember, Africa is watching.